From the WATE.com Digital Center, answering your legal questions. This is Ask Isaacs. Now, here's Lori Tucker and attorney Greg Isaacs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Lori Tucker, along with our legal analyst, Greg Isaacs. And before we get going, I want to remind you, those of you watching, before we get on this topic, be thinking about questions and comments. Here's your chance to talk with our legal analyst and weigh in on what we're going to talk about today. And that is, this time, Greg, it's not a college football player in hot water. It's a now former college football coach. He's accused of all kinds of stuff, inappropriate relationship, winds up in jail. Now the whole Wolverines football program is under scrutiny. Let's go ahead and set the stage for you with this report from TV station WOOD in Grand Rapids.
Days after the University of Michigan fired head football coach Sherrone Moore, he was back before a camera, this time in a Washtenaw County courtroom.
This is the people of the state of Michigan versus Sherrone Banfield Moore.
39-year-old Moore appeared by video conference as he was read 3 criminal charges, including a felony. Prosecutors say the case stems from a relationship that ended earlier this week and a series of events that followed. They say the victim broke up with Moore Monday and that he continued reaching out through calls and texts she didn't want. She contacted the university, and the school fired him Wednesday for what it called an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Prosecutors say after that, Moore went to the woman's apartment just south of Ann Arbor and forced his way inside.
At some point soon thereafter, came to her apartment in the address that is alleged in the complaint, barged his way into that apartment, immediately then proceeded to a kitchen drawer, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You ruined my life. And a series of very, very threatening, intimidating, terrifying, quite frankly, statements and behaviors there.
The woman told him she would call police. They say Moore left, and officers arrested him a short time later.
I understand that there isn't evidence to suggest that he directly threatened the victim with any of those implements that I've indicated. The totality of the behavior is highly threatening and highly intimidating. She was terrorized.
Prosecutors say he is a danger to the public, but Moore's lawyer disagreed.
I'm 39 years old with 0 prior criminal history, 0 prior contact with the criminal justice system in any fashion. The threat to public safety argument by these charges, maybe that's the point, but there's no evidence to suggest that he's a threat to the public safety.
Moore was ordered not to have any contact with the victim in any way or for any reason.
That means no calling, no writing, no video chatting, no texting, no emailing, or any other form of contact the human mind can possibly fathom.
When asked if he understood, he replied.
Yes, Your Honor.
There you have it. So he was fired last week for cause, Greg. He's now the former University of Michigan football coach. And let's talk about what he is charged with. Home invasion, that's the felony, right?
Correct.
Stalking and breaking and entering. What happens next?
What happens next is, he's going to face very serious, a serious felony charge. Now, it's interesting. Michigan has home invasion. Tennessee does not. That parallel crime here would have been aggravated burglary. But, obviously he has a threat or a chance of being incarcerated regarding a sentence. But what this highlights, and apparently there was a pattern after his affair partner, who was an employee that he had groomed, he had promoted, her salary doubled in a very short period of time. Sherrone Moore, who was married, by the way, with 3 children, just kept on and on and on. And to me, the thing that's significant about this case, it highlights the tremendous problem we have here in Tennessee and Knox County and throughout the United States with stalking.
Right.
And it's interesting because from media reports and the view from Google Earth, this relationship with his employee slash affair partner was consensual. And it was consensual until it wasn't. And then when she said, no, stop, Moore escalated his behavior. And the thing that I thought was interesting in that bond hearing, because the prosecutor used the elements for stalking and harassment under Tennessee law, which I think Michigan stalking laws mirror, and that was, even though he broke in and kind of obviously a better football coach than he was a individual trying to commit suicide, grabbed 2 butter knives and some kitchen scissors, and the prosecutor was quick to point out that the threat wasn't directed specifically at the affair partner, but that it, quote, terrorized, intimidated, and
it had to be terrorizing. If you can think about that, because she's a young woman, you wonder about what you just said about the alleged grooming and all of that. And then there's this, where this larger-than-life coach comes in and says, hey, this is going to happen. I'm going to kill myself in front of you if something doesn't.
And she used the words fear, terror, and intimidated. And those are the elements that the state must prove in a successful stalking prosecution. But, you know, it is remarkable that, again, it was a relationship that was consensual until it wasn't. And here's somebody, and there's parallel civil issues that are going to be played out. There currently is an investigation in the University of Michigan Athletic Department. But
the whole program is under scrutiny.
You have somebody that was a direct subordinate of Coach Moore. You obviously had an inappropriate relationship with that employee. So you have a lot of civil issues that the University of Michigan is going to have to sort through.
And let's hold it right there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with you in just a moment. We're going to flesh out this case even more. Stay with us. All right, everybody, thank you again for being with us. So we're talking about this case, the fired Michigan coach, Sherrone Moore, accused of forcing his way into his ex's home and then making all kinds of threats. Stalking is one of the things he is accused of. So, Greg, stalking is on the rise. It is a huge problem.
At college campuses throughout the United States and elsewhere, stalking is increasing at epidemic proportions. And Lori, let me give you some stats that we pulled from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
And while you're about to do that, let me just show everyone the notes that you sent. We've got about 11 pages. There are all kinds of issues here when it comes to stalking and harassment and all of that.
Stalking is it's a crime that covers a very broad spectrum of conduct. We're going to touch on some of those. But it's interesting. In 2022 in the state of Tennessee, there were 58 reported incidents of 58 on campuses for stalking. 2023, we had an increase of 122%. There was 129 incidents of stalking. 2024, Lori, it keeps going up. There were over 1,800.
Over 1,800?
Yeah.
Compared to 58 just a few years ago. Do we know why?
That's a great question, because there's efforts being made to educate, to protect. You've got Title IX, you've got all these different things. But statewide, and that statistic would encompass the 1,819 statewide throughout Tennessee. But here's what's shocking. There were 60,000 domestic-related offenses within the state of Tennessee. And those can encompass...
What period of time?
A year.
Wow.
Just in 1 year. So that encompasses stalking, which is a misdemeanor, aggravated stalking, it can be a felony. But let's just talk about what stalking is. And it is conduct, and again, I said it covers this criminal offense, a broad spectrum of conduct that is designed to intimidate, harass, threaten. And it can be done directly. It can be done indirectly. It can be done through a third party. It can be done telephonically. It can be done on the internet. I've seen it done where people place pictures with vile language on automobiles.
Oh, just all kinds of horrifying
all
stuff.
kinds of horrifying
Hey,
things.
you mentioned internet. We have from Kara Kent. Thank you for getting in touch with us. Here's the question. How does the law view stalking when it comes to someone's online actions? You mentioned, again, the internet, as if someone wasn't coming to your house, but constantly calling you and messaging you on social media. And we have heard of instances where someone sent 100 texts in just a few hours, just out of control.
Sir, great question. And call, if you feel you are being stalked, threatened, intimidated, harassed, terrorized, call local law enforcement, because the computer, you can stalk someone through the computer. You can do it through a written communication. You can do it through third parties. But that is stalking. Also, our statute, it's a very well-crafted statute. Normally, we're here criticizing and talking about how our legislature couldn't litigate CAT.
Yeah, there are
But
holes
this one,
in it, but this one you say is pretty solid.
and it's harassment, intimidating, stalking, terrorizing. For example, if you plant a computer device for someone to track your movements, your automobile, and we did a segment on Apple AirTags, and that is still at an epidemic when people will look under their auto in the back seat and you find an AirTag and it's registered to an IP address that you don't recognize, or unfortunately you do recognize.
And I'm so glad that certain phones will let you know if you have those tags, if a tag is in your vicinity. Mine has gone off when I'm seated next to someone in a restaurant, and they may have a tag on their child.
Right, and back to the viewer question, to constitute stalking, harassment under Tennessee law, it's just 2 or more incidences of conduct. So you don't have to wait for it to happen, day after day, week after week, and there is a plethora of resources that's available. Like in Knox County, we have a justice center, we have victim crisis units. So they are extraordinarily well trained and responsive.
And act now. Don't wait until it gets
Right.
even worse and escalates. Nip it now, if you can, by
Right.
letting people know.
And one thing, this is a great time, I think, to segue into this. Under Tennessee law, you can take out, if you go to your local courthouse, an ex parte order of protection. And that's typically relevant if you've had a relationship with somebody, if you're related, if you dated, if you cohabitated.
Now, I'm going to play
And-
devil's advocate here, because I have talked to victims before who have said, I don't know that it was worth the paper it was printed on.
I've talked to other people where you have clients, because if you violate an order of protection, and you have to show that there's an immediate and present danger to the petitioner,
Yeah.
it's a criminal offense. They will put you in jail. So, and if you do it again, it becomes an aggravated felony. So
Good to know.
That law has teeth, and it's just a matter of making sure that you articulate the immediate and present danger. And then, my experience as law enforcement has been extraordinarily swift to respond.
Good.
And let's talk about stalking as a misdemeanor. How does it become a felony? Because that's what's so puzzling about this offense to me, because typically people, when they come to talk to a district attorney, when they talk to law enforcement, they're at their wits' end. They've been harassed, intimidated, stalked. They're looking over their shoulder. They don't want to click on their messages, their email. And so if you do it after there's a order by a court of competent jurisdiction of no contact, whether it be a bond condition, whether it be an order of protection, it becomes aggravated stalking, which is a felony. If you threaten someone's family member, child, spouse, that kicks it up to a felony. If you are elderly, it kicks it up to a felony. So, it's interesting to know, and if you have a gun or a weapon, it is a felony. If you have had a misdemeanor offense within 7 years, it's a trigger for a felony.
So they're going to look at all those things, and we've got about 4 minutes left. I want to circle back to this particular case, and I want to ask you, Greg, what happens to the staff member? Because USA Today reported that as of Monday, she was still on Michigan's payroll, not saying she did anything wrong, but some people are questioning he was fired, she wasn't. Is she the true victim in this case, and how do you prove that?
Well, it remains to be seen how this is going to play out. The question is going to be, one, when you have somebody that's a subordinate and someone like Coach Moore that was in a supervisory position, it's pretty clear in terms of the boundaries of relationship dynamics. But she should not be punished if she is a victim. And, clearly these very significant criminal offenses, one felony, home invasion, with the 2 misdemeanors, the stalking, and the other burglary charge, she should not be punished. So, what you'll see, and I've seen it here at the University of Tennessee, the university is going to circle their wagons around this victim because not only is it the legal thing to do,
but she came forward and reported.
Yeah, she came forward and reported it because you can't have employees being subject to harassment by their superiors in the workplace.
Right.
So they're going to put a protective bubble around her.
But could the university face its own consequences because this allegedly went on for so long?
Well, it's the old proverbial, what did they know and when did they know it? Did the athletic department try to cover this up? And the Michigan athletic department is no stranger to having a lack of moral compass. I remember a few years ago, Connor Stallion traveled across the country, in fact, sat next to a few rows down from my box and was stealing UT's plays and sending those to Jim Harbaugh, the prior coach.
I remember that.
So now, fast forward, it is a very, from the view from Google Earth, wide open athletic department. But here's the question to me.
And then we want to get to the question from Mary Smith.
Yeah, when you have a coach like that, they are under the kaleidoscope of public scrutiny, media attention, everywhere they go. How in the world did a relationship this prolific, open, notorious happen in front of all
under
the
their
players,
noses,
assistant coaches, etc.?
Mary Smith, thank you for asking this question. Could the university face a civil lawsuit?
Absolutely, Mary.
Okay,
and I think
good
that's
question.
why you're seeing that victim still on the payroll. But what you'll see is a parallel investigation where the university, if they're smart, will hire outside counsel, not their general counsel, and do a parallel investigation and try to figure out how far this went up in the administration.
In the meantime, we have seen video of him on the field. We're talking about former Coach Moore, now to inside a jail cell.
But, this goes back to, when you talk about criminal cases, a very simple concept. The relationship was a moral turpitude issue at the most when you have an affair partner. But, it was consensual until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And no means no, whether you're on a date, whether you're on the football field, whether you're with a subordinate. And Coach Moore didn't listen. And the consequences, it has been a horrific fall, a meteoric fall from grace and the spotlight to
And don't remember, he has a family.
Coaching one of the biggest programs in college football to being on a suicide watch in a jail for trying to kill yourself with 2 butter knives.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Be sure to join us, everyone. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to talk more about this case specifically, so stay with us. We appreciate you. Have a good one.